And it's Nancy at Sipping and Painting Hampden. Today we're going to be painting this lovely painting called Stellar. It's an original painting by Sabrina Ehrenstein, and it's quite a lovely little painting. First thing we're going to do, we have a black canvas here, and you can either start with a black canvas or you can paint your own. We'll start with a white canvas and paint it black. I also have a variety of brush sizes. I'm going to only use 3 today. I'm going to use a large flat, a medium flat, and a small round. So if you have a variety of brushes, I'll probably just say small, medium, and large. I might indicate flat, but as long as you have those basic ones, you'll be good. We're going to be using primary colors today, yellow, red, blue, and then we always have white and black on hand as well. And I have a water jar, and I'm going to just I have a few different water jars here. You can just dump your water when it gets really grungy if you need to. So, all right. And then I have my beverage of choice. I have some water, but I also have Mike's Heart. Yum. That's what's on for today. Anyway, so I like to stay hydrated while I paint. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick up a big brush. Oh, by the way, let's have some napkins. I'm gonna take a big brush and I'm gonna cover my canvas with just plain old water. So even if you colored, you painted your canvas black, it was white originally, and then you let it dry, if it's been a while, you'll still need to go back and put a little water on it, because I want the paint to move nicely across the canvas. And by adding water to it, it's just going to help the paints not dry out too quickly and help them move across the canvas. So I'm just hydrating my canvas a little bit. We're in Denver, Colorado, which is a very dry place, and it will get dry. Our paints will dry out quickly. Not so much that it drips, but just so that it's wet. All right, so I've got my black canvas and it's still wet. And so it's wet with water. And I can start thinking about where I'm going to be putting my paints. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mix the colors that I see in the sky. Let me just start with this blue. I have a blue that's very dark. See that? It looks kind of like navy. So I want it to be a little bit lighter, but I don't want to mix a lot of it. So I'm just going to take my blue. I'm going to mix it with a little bit of white. I just want it a shade lighter, okay? So I'm just gonna mix a little bit of time. I don't mix all my paints together because I might need more later, or I might make a mistake and abandon that pile and mix it again. So don't mix too much, just mix a little at a time. You can always come back to it. So I'm gonna take a medium brush, and I'm gonna put on some light blue areas, but notice how I'm putting them on in a really sketchy, haphazard, kind of messy way on the top. They're kind of almost, you can almost say they're like freckles or spots, Dalmatian spots. I don't want them to be orderly. Don't make them orderly, okay? These are the lighter blue ones. And we're going to overlap different shades and different colors so that we can create this background. Oops, little run there. All right, so notice how messy I'm putting it on. On the bottom, about the bottom third, okay, so the bottom third, 1, 2, 3, the bottom third, we're going to paint blue lines across with that blue that we just mixed. It's a little lighter than the navy. than the full-on blue. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm painting those in horizontal lines. These are horizontal. So we have blotches up in the sky, but in the water, we're going to have horizontal lines. Here's the thing. Try to pull that blue across as straight as you can, because water is always straight when you view it from a distance. If you're up close, if you're in a bathtub or looking over the side of a boat, or just in the horizon, you know, if it's just in front of you, you're standing on the beach, it looks choppy. But when you're out a ways and you're looking at an ocean or a lake from a distance, the water looks flat. So we want to keep it flat. Water seeks its own level. That's why it looks flat from a distance. All right, so I have the beginnings of the different colors in my sky and the beginnings of my water, okay? And make sure that when you're putting those colors on, that don't forget to put them over the top and the sides a little bit. Yeah. And I'm being messy. I'm not making perfect circles. That would really not be what I want. So now this is starting to dry. I can see that that's not quite as shiny as it was when I put it on. I'm going to go into the blue, full-on blue, just full-on dark blue. And then I'm going to put some of those blotches on too. And I'm going to put them so that they're kind of neighbors with those other ones. Irregular shapes, like amoebas. Did you ever study in science, did you ever study amoebas? Little germs, I think. That shape. And by that shape, I mean random shape. There's kind of little blotches. So this is just another layer of those colors in the sky. Now this sky is twinkly and it has those interesting odd colors. I'm not really sure. Are those aurora borealis? Is that a northern sky? Is it right after fireworks? I don't know. You tell me. You tell me the story of your painting. You're painting your world. Constellations of stars out in this deep sky. The Milky Way. Maybe all those are true. All right, so now what I have is I have some lighter blue and medium blue because it wasn't mixed perfectly. And then I have the dark blue. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up that brush that I was just using for the blue, and I'm going to mix a little red and a little blue together. I'm lucky because I put them right next to each other on the plate. But if you didn't, just find a new clean spot. Don't mix too much of it together. Don't mix too much of it. Just make a little bit at a time and see if you like it. Okay, so I mix those two together. Now I have a purple color, but it's very dark, and I don't know what that purple color is going to look like because it's so dark. So I can try it and see. Oh, that's really pretty dark. See that? And I'm putting it on randomly in shapes. Oh, that's interesting. So I'll put some of that in there. It's pretty dark, pretty dark. Maybe more on the outsides of the painting because I want more stars to go on in this general place around the moon. And we're going to make another shade of this purple. It's a little brighter, a little easier to see. All right, so after you get a little bit of that dark purple on, one layer, I'm going to go ahead and sit down. Then I'm going to mix a little bit more of that purple. So it's a little red, a little blue. But then this time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up some white. And I'm going to stir that in so that now I'm hoping I'm going to get lavender. That's what I'm going for. Lavender. Now the original painting that I'm painting, that Sabrina Ehrenstein did the original She may not have used the exact same paints that we're using today. We use primary colors and then we teach you how to mix them. And Sabrina had access to about 50 different colors of paint that we have here at our studio. So she may have put in a little fluorescent purple or something. So ours isn't going to look exactly like hers. And you know what? I don't care. And I'll tell you why. No one's ever going to see the original. When you paint along with us and you use primary colors, you're going to mix a color that's close. It might not be the same, definitely won't be the same as a fluorescent, but it'll be pretty. And no one's ever going to see the original to know that it wasn't exactly the same shade. We like to just stick with the primary colors plus black and white because it's great for beginners. You don't need to go buy 200 different colors of paint when you're starting out. But you probably won't, you'll get intimidated that way and you won't actually use them. So we like to just start with a little bit of just some primary colors and just encourage people, paint. Don't let your supplies stop you, paint. And then as you enjoy it more and more and you start to know what you like, then invest. You can spend a fortune on paint, but we don't want you to. We want you to just paint and then see if you like it. See if you like this hobby. All right, so I've mixed together a lighter shade. This one's going to be a little more lavender, I think. And oh, yep, a little more lavender. I'm going to put that on. Now, let me tell you another thing about this painting. It has glitter on it. So at the end of this painting, I am going to put on some glitter. If you don't have glitter at home, that's okay. There's a couple of the things you can do, which are just kind of fun tricks. One of those tricks is, while your paint's still wet at the end, sprinkle on some table salt and just let it sit there and dry into the paint, dry into it. It sounds funny, but when you put it in the light, it will sparkle. And then just kind of brush off what's not stuck to the paint when it's totally dry. Another thing you could do is, I've seen glitter. Obviously, they have glitter at Michael's and Hobby Lobby, probably Walmart. I don't know. I don't shop at Walmart. But yeah, so they have it lots of different places. And so, but I've also seen it. This is funny. I've also seen it at the dollar store. And so next time you're in the dollar store, go in the arts and crafts. It's right next to the stationery and pick up a little glitter and throw that on some of your paintings. It's fun, fun, fun. Anyway, I'm overdoing this purpley color, way overdoing it, but I have fun. So that's okay, as long as I'm having fun. All right, get a little carried away sometimes. Okay, so I have all these different colors of blotches, and that's okay. We're gonna make that work. And when it's dry, you can always go in and put another layer of whatever you want to change or brighten up or just add a little more color to. So don't worry, don't worry. I was going very arbitrarily. So my blobs and colors, they're not in the same places as the original. I like to be unique and different. I like to consider my original paintings as inspiration for what I'm doing and not a dictate. But, because that's just kind of who I am. But if you want to do it exactly in the same places as that one, stop the video and then put your colors in exactly the same places. Obviously it works, it's beautiful. All right. I'm going to let this dry a bit, and I'm going to enjoy my beverage a little bit. I'm not finished in the sky. I'm going to come back in the sky and I'm going to put black in some areas to tie those colors together. And I'm also going to put in a moon and stars. So we're not done in the sky. But while we're waiting for the sky to dry, what we can do is paint the bottom. And so down here, you'll see that I had black and I put blue over it, but you really can't see the blue anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a lighter shade of blue, real light. And I'm using my medium brush, my medium flat brush. And I'm going to chisel it on the side just so I get any clumps off. And I'm going to see how I'm holding my flat brush. It's flat because it's crimped here. It's round here on the stick and then it's crimped, so it's flat. I'm going to hold my flat brush the flat way so I can pull thin lines across. And it helps to go. So I'm just putting in some more water lines. Before I had blue, pulling blue across vertically, and now I'm pulling a lighter blue. Because I want those water lines. And I'm pulling them as flat as I can. And I can pick up more blue on my brush without even cleaning it. And the colors just mix a bit. That's okay. And pull that in and let those mix. And so this is more of the darker blue on my flat brush, and I'm pulling it flat. Notice how I'm starting from one side and I'm just pulling toward the center. And I'll tell you why I'm doing that. I'm doing that because in the center, I'm going to put white and really make it bright. Right now, I'm just using that dirty brush and I'm pulling across some darker blue all the way from the right side toward the center and just flicking up. So it just kind of ends at a sharp point after I flick it in that direction. Wiped away a little bit of my lighter blue. So put a little bit more of that whip back in. Now, if you want your painting to be painted all on the sides too, then just carry over that pattern, that paint on the sides. You can carry the whole thing right over. I'm going to make sure that I don't have any excess paint on that. It's okay if it's a little dirty, or you can wash it. But I'm going to put white paint, just white paint on my brush, just white. And then this is the reflection of the moon. So what I want you to notice is it's a little lighter on top because all of the moon light is reflecting on the top of the water. But then here, it's almost the shape of a moon, kind of, sort of, down here, a little bit more. And so that's actually the reflection of the moon. Interesting. So I'm going to try to accomplish that. I'm going to make it a little wider at the very top, a little wider of white. And then down here, I'm going to try to approximate with just these back and forth white lines. A very, very loose interpretation of what the moon would be reflecting. We don't even have a moon on there yet. We're still waiting for this to dry. But we can imagine that it's going to look like that. It's going to be right around here. So I'm going to keep these lines as thin as I can. No pressure on my brush. I'm only getting the tips of my brush, just the tips, because I want those lines to be thin. And then make them a little more random outside the center where the reflection is. A little more random, not as neat and orderly, but always pulling flat across. Because water seeks its own level and looks flat from a distance, right? And you could do it more messy than me. This painter, her style is looser. And what I mean by looser is she paints very quickly And she doesn't worry about the details so much. She's more impressionistic. And I struggle to be more like that. Every artist has their own style. And the more you paint, the more you'll figure out what your style is. So you do you, but the keys are, don't make it too perfect, okay? Don't make it too perfect. And then stop when you like it. And then just know that no one else paints like you. And so that's a wonderful thing. That's a really wonderful thing. I can take a small detail brush. And so let's say I put my lines on too fat and I don't like it. I can always come in with a small detail brush and I can pull dark blue lines through it and break up any that I just think are too wide, that look funny to me. Because remember, I wanted to keep these lines thin so they look like ripples on the water at a distance. So if anything needs to be broken up, if it's, I say, oh, it's just too wide in there, something, you can always just use a detail brush and just pull it across and break up anything you don't like. It adds more ripples. All right. I'm going to clean all my brushes. I always clean them really, really well. Always clean your brushes well. And when I have little kids in here, I tell them swishy, swishy like a fishy. The adults, they don't like that so well, but it's just really good to wash them a lot with plain old water. Just rinse them really well. And then you don't have to use so many napkins. Then you just dab to test if they're clean on your napkin. And you're not causing your brushes to be so, to use so many napkins to clean those brushes. Lots of swishing. I was painting with a woman once and she heard that swish, but she didn't see what I was doing. I wasn't explaining it. And then she said, I hope that's not you drinking. I thought that was pretty funny. So lots of swishing. I really have to be guzzling to make that noise. All right. Still makes me laugh. Okay, so I'm going to take my clean medium brush. And now I can take my black paint. As this starts to dry, I can take the black paint and then go any place that I don't like something, I can cover it up. I can cover it up or I can change the shape of it. I can also bring together any blobs that, I don't know, I didn't like how they were interacting on the canvas. It just adds another dimension of color and also of texture to the sky. And I'm just going in between those colors, and anything I don't like, I'll just paint right over it with black. But I'm just kind of scribbling on those arbitrary shapes like we were before, but in the spaces between the colors. Now, one thing I did notice is I have far too many of them, of that pink color, way more than that painting. And so to honor the artistic integrity of the original, I'm probably going to cover over some of this so that I'm not really coming up with a brand new painting. I want it to look a little bit like the inspiration that I'm trying to do. So I'm just going to kind of keep that in mind. I'm just going to keep that in mind. If it's not going with the same general feel, I'm just going to paint right over it with some black. But that's the beauty of doing it in steps, is you can use the black to correct what you did or to just add another layer or dimension. And what I would really recommend is look at your painting from about 5 feet away and see if it's what you want. After we get our sky done, we're going to look at it. We can always tweak it. We can always make it better, but we can't really tell when we're this close to it. We have to get up and look at it from several feet away to really know what we've got. Now, you might have noticed that what I'm doing is I'm making more of these angular, and that kind of gives the idea of more of northern lights or like a constellation. Yeah, constellation, is that the word I'm looking for? Milky Way kind of look. How's that? All right. We're still going to add a lot of stars to our sky. And a beautiful moon. But go ahead and step away after you've done a little bit to yours and you see if you know what you like or don't like. Step away and see it. I'm going to add a little bit more blue, dark blue, and just a few pops of areas to break up some of my circular blobs a bit. I don't want them to be too cotton ball-y. We'll see. We'll see if I can get this something I want to live with. I'll just break up any little cotton balls. A little bit more diagonal in my sky. But you do you. You do what you like. And you know what? The most important thing is that you have fun. All right, so I'm going to let mine dry a bit. I'm gonna take 5. I hope you will too. I'm gonna enjoy a little beverage. When I stepped away, I noticed this white is a lot brighter than what I have here, but I can't tell that from a distance. I just couldn't see it. Funny how that works. So now I can see it. Now I can see that shape in the water is much brighter in the center than I had it. And so I'm using just plain old white in those areas. But like I said, step back, you can't see it. I say this in a lot of my videos, so if you've heard this before, you might want to just go let the dog out or something. But I was really fortunate. My husband and I went to Paris a couple of years ago. It had been on our bucket list. We couldn't afford to travel when we were raising kids because we were just saving for college and every penny went to that. But then when our last son graduated from college, we were so excited that we spent a week in Paris, something I'd always dreamed of. And we went to all the museums that I could possibly go to in that one week. And I couldn't believe how messy impressionistic paintings looked up close. Monet and Van Gogh and all the impressionists. It shocked me. But from 5 to 10 feet away, they were unbelievable. They were unforgettably beautiful. Just unforgettably beautiful. So here's the thing, you can't see your painting from up close. Just like I couldn't see the Monets and the Renoirs. Well, the Renoirs were realistic, but the impressionistic paintings, I couldn't see them from up close. I had to step back 5 or 10 feet in order to really appreciate what they were. Because they weren't intended to look good up close. They were intended like a realism painting would be. They were intended to look good from a distance. They were intended to be your memory of what you saw and not the details of what you're looking at. Monet actually said that. So, yeah. All right. When you're ready, take a tiny little brush because it needs to have a tiny handle. And I'm going to take the stick part of the brush, I'm going to dip it in white paint, and I'm going to put lots of stars. And I'm going to put them in clumps of 2 or 3 in some spots, and maybe in a one all by itself in other spots. I want it to look random. And I'm going to do that with a small stick. Put a bunch on, and then we'll put some on with a bigger, that are bigger as well. But these are stars in the sky. Stars in this beautiful night sky that looks kind of like the Milky Way. You can get quite a few stars off of one pop of paint. The first time it's bigger, and then as you go, they get smaller. Then I'm going to take a bigger brush, and it has a bigger handle, so then I can dip that in the white and I get more paint. So I get bigger stars with a bigger brush handle. And I'm putting them anywhere, literally anywhere. Random, as random as you can. Oops. Oh, yeah. That was interesting. It wasn't a total circle, but I'm going to leave it. My sky is still not dry enough for a moon, unfortunately. And don't forget the sides too. Remember we painted around? So don't forget the sides. Still not dry enough for a moon, but dry enough I can put stars. And you can put a few stars in your water too. Why not? There's going to be reflections of stars everywhere in the all right, I'm going to wash the end. I want to show you a couple interesting star shapes that they have in the original painting. They meaning the original artist, Sabrina. She has one that looks like a diamond. So I'm just taking a tiny little detail brush, and I'm going to come up here and I'm going to make, first I'm going to make a cross shape or a plus sign shape. More like a kite because it's a little taller than it is wide. And then from there, I'm going to connect the end of one to the tip of another to make a diamond. Or you could freehand a diamond. That's an easy way, and then just fill it in with white. So she just made a little diamond star in the sky. The ends are pointy. And she also has one of these, which looks like an asterisk. So I'm just going to find a spot to do it. I can use my pinky to steady my hand. See that? And then I'm going to put a dot in the center, and then I'm going to flick up from the dot, down from the dot, out to the side, out from the dot, center. Always flicking out from the center, and I'll tell you why. If you do that, then the little points are sharp. If you flick out from the center. If you just try to draw an asterisk, the ends will be blunt and it'll look like a jack or an asterisk. It won't look like a star. The ends won't be pointy. When I say jack, if you're old like me, then you'll know what I'm talking about. Jacks were a toy that kids used, and they were very blunt on the end. But they look like an asterisk, but they were more blunt on the end. So we don't want that. We want them to be sharp on the end. So go ahead and put however many stars or diamonds or dots for stars, however many you like, that's what you should do. Oh, I think I might just brighten up a little bit of this. Some of my paint got darker as it dried, and I do want it to be a little bit bright. I'm just kind of putting some random dots that together will make a little squiggle in my pinky purple areas. I'm just mixing a little more white paint and a little more red into it to get that slightly brighter pinky color. I'm hoping that's going to brighten that up a bit. It's hard to compete with fluorescent. I'm kind of dabbing and kind of scribbling. Do you see that? Just made a slightly brighter color with a little more white, a little more red. Just to brighten up the centers of these pinky colors. A scribbly dab. Just to brighten it up a little bit. And I'm not doing it in the whole area, just kind of highlighting the centers of each one. And I don't really have to put it in each one. Nice. All right. Some of that's going to end up behind a moon. So this is all wet. I'm still waiting for this to dry. And I'm waiting for this to dry. While I'm waiting for the top to dry, I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of that yellow. See that yellow? Just, I don't know why it's there. I honestly don't. That's okay. I want to honor the original artist and her vision. And I'm just going to put a little bit of the yellow highlights in approximately the same places that she has them. Just adds a little color and dimension down below. If you're celebrating anything tonight, painting with someone you love at home or painting alone, here's to you. Cheers. Clink. We're going to give those just a few minutes to dry. In case you're wondering what that noise is, I have a little spray bottle. And so when I'm painting multiple paintings, I use the same paint. So I keep it from drying out by spraying a little water in it. You can get one of these at the dollar store. You can see that ours is old and well loved. Another way, so if it's still shiny, it's still wet. A wet painting will feel colder to the touch on the back. True for watercolor paintings, also true for acrylic paintings. I can also wave it around like this to dry it, or I could put it in front of a fan, or I could put a blow dryer on it. All of those ways will work to dry it. And the reason why it's taking so long to dry is that when an acrylic paint is painted on thinly, it only, at least in Denver, it only takes about 5 to 10 minutes to dry. But when you put on a lot, and layer after layer, like I did on the sky, it takes longer to dry. When it's dry, I'm going to put on my moon, and then a little glitter, and we'll be finished. That'll be exciting. I want to show you my glitter. This is what we use here at the studio. We used to use dry glitter that we pinch on, but you have to time it just right. Throw it on top of wet paint and let it dry on top. We found this glitter glue that we order from Dick Blick. It's very expensive. A gallon of it's about $100, I think. Maybe 80 for teachers. But it's very expensive, but we use it all the time. And the beauty of it is it looks white when it's wet. And then when we brush it on, it goes on white, but it comes out clear. And so clear and just shiny. So this is still a little bit wet, right about there. It's mostly dry though, so I can do this. All right. Okay, so I can take this very dry medium brush and I can put this glitter over my center sparkles, my center reflections. And when it dries, it's going on white, but when it dries, it's just gonna shimmer just exactly where I put it. Just a gentle shimmer. It's just really lovely stuff. And so I'm gonna put it on there. And then that center reflection area is going to shimmer even when it's dry. Like I said, you can always throw a little salt on top of a painting that's drying as well, and then brush off whatever's left over after it's dry. It's, you know, it's kind of an unusual way to do it, but I've tried it and it's fun. I can also paint that glitter over any little part that I want to sparkle more. If it's not dry, it's gonna mess it up. So be sure it's dry, or if it's not perfectly dry, that you're gonna be okay with it messing up whatever you just put it on. But see how it goes on white? It's not gonna be, this particular kind of paint is not gonna be white after it's dry. It's not paint, it's glitter glue. I have not seen this exact brand of glitter glue anywhere else except for Dick Blick online. However, what I have found is that they do have glitter glue in little bottles that are different colors that you can buy at Michael's and Hobby Lobby. I go to Michael's all the time. I really like Michael's. They've been good to us. But I've also, this is funny, I've also seen it at the dollar store. So if you like glitter and you want to have some around, go to the dollar store, pick up a little glitter glue. It comes in little teeny little bottles. They often have it out at Christmas time for arts and crafts at Christmas time. But they have it year round at Michael's and Hobby Lobby. So I'm just in the dry areas, I'm adding a little bit of this liquid glitter. Where your painting is still wet, you can throw on powder glitter if you have any laying around at home. When this dries, that white is going to disappear. It's not going to be there. It's not going to be there. The white, it's just going to be sparkles. That's going to be really cool. You're going to love it. But we have to let that dry in a few minutes. There is a little bit of yellow in the painting up here. Do you see that? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of my glitter. I'm going to mix it with a little yellow paint. Now they do sell golden color glitter at Michael's and Hobby Lobby. So I'm just going to take a little bit of yellow in that, and I'm going to put it up in here around where my moon is going to be. Do you see that? Little yellow. It's pretty faint, pretty light. You can add a little bit of water, sorry, not water, white paint to it if you want to make it stand up a little bit more. The yellow, little white always helps it stick better. But I don't want too much of it in the painting because I don't really yeah. All right, so all that's got to dry. All that's got to dry. And then I'm going to put my moon on. if you don't have glitter at home, your painting is going to be beautiful after you put the moon on. You don't really need it. It's pretty and it's fun, but you don't have to have it. So don't worry if you don't have it. I've seen this painting painted lots of times, and some people just say no thanks on the glitter. And they still have beautiful paintings. I have some little constellations in my paintings, my skies. I tend to overdo things. That's my personality, but it's kind of fun. Kind of fun to put little pops of stars. All right, I'm going to leave my painting alone. Sometimes you just have to tell yourself, step away from the painting. I'm going to let this dry, and then we're going to put on our moon. Okay, so my glitter is still drying, you can see. Remember that white glitter glue I put on? You don't have to have it, it's optional, but it's still drying a little bit. Can you see the shimmer? It does leave glitter behind once it dries, but until it's all dry, it looks a little white. But we're gonna move on, and I'm gonna show you how to make a moon. Now there's a couple different ways you could do it. You could use a template if you want. And by a template, I mean something to paint around. So you could definitely do that. Absolutely. Or I'll show you another way where you don't need a template. If you did use a template, what I mean by that is you could just trace around a cup, like a solo cup or coffee cup or a little container, maybe a takeout container, whatever you want, and you can get a circle like that. But I'm going to show you how to do it if you don't have a circle to use. I'm going to take white, just plain old white paint on a medium-sized brush, and I'm going to put a dot where I want the center of my moon to be. And then I'm just going to slowly, slowly circle out. And if you go slow, you can go slow, take your time and just circle out. You can make a pretty decent circle that way without having to have a template. Will it be perfect? No, but it'll be a lot better than if you were trying to freehand a circle by going on the outside. It's a little trick that artists use. So start with a dot, go slow, 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 and then circle out as you go. And just get bigger and bigger each time. And just let your hand and your arms get used to that round and round feeling. Just take your time. Take your time. Take your time. Take your time. And if you pick up any wet paint and it changes the moon a different color, that's okay. You can always go back in and put another coat of paint later. No worries. No worries. And then stop when you think your moon is big enough. Now, one thing that I noticed in observing the moon, not as an artist, but just as a human being, is that when I look at the moon the day before it's a full moon and the day after it's a full moon, it still looks like a full moon, but it's not a perfect shape. So keep that in mind, that there are days of the month, the lunar month, when it's not a perfect circle, but it's pretty close. So just remember that. It doesn't always have to be perfect. So I've got my moon. It's good enough. And now I get to have fun. All right. So this is how I'm going to put craters on my moon. I'm going to take this tool called my finger. You know what, I'm going to fix it up a little bit more. From this angle, I can see it's not quite as round as I want, but it's close. It's pretty close. I'm going to make it a little more round, just a little bit more. So again, start in the center, circle, circle, circle. And when I'm correcting the shape, if I start in the center and go out and just repeat my steps, it's just going to help me get my muscles and in my hand and arm just kind of getting the sense of what it feels like to be a good circle. So it should help me improve the circle if I just repeat the steps. All right, I think it's good enough. Now it's a huge moon, but remember, moons have craters. They're not perfect either. Just like us, they're not perfect. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my finger and I'm gonna tap it in black paint, and then I'm gonna steady my finger by touching another finger on a dry spot. And on one side of the moon, I'm gonna pop on a whole bunch of these finger pops of paint. But I'm only doing it on one side, and then I'm going to make it kind of in a crescent shape, like a crescent moon. And the reason for that is that the moon is lit up differently on different sides, depending on where the sun is that time of the month or year. So I put on a lot of those in kind of a crescent shape. I can put a few on the other side, but I just don't want many. I want it to really be a dark side and a light side. If you're old like me, you remember Pink Floyd had an album called Dark Side of the Moon. We definitely want a dark side of the moon. Now, if you put on too much black, no problem, easy fix. You just put your finger in white, clean it off in the black and put it in white. And then you can tap over it again. And that just makes another really interesting layer of craters on the moon. Seems like that should be a Moody Blues song, doesn't it? But it's not. Craters on the moon. But it's not. All right. Shouldn't get in copyright trouble for just singing a song that doesn't really exist. But do you see how that, just covering it up with white on my finger, it just adds another little interesting area to our moon. So we have a dark side and a light side. But I do want this side to be darker than the other side. I like having a dark side and a light side. Now, if any of your stars are too close to your moon and like those are actual stars, I can always tweak that. I can always fix that. Just cover those up, they're dry, so that I don't change the shape of your moon. Anyway, that is it for me. So this painting, it's still a little bit dry, wet right here. You can see where that glitter glue is still a little wet. And I know that because it looks white. But next to it is just sparkles. So you can see that. This is also just white because that's the glitter glue drying. When it dries, it's just white. But in a couple of minutes, it'll be completely dry. And some of those white marks will disappear. I'm going to go ahead and take my tiniest detail brush. I'm going to put my initials right down here. I just do initials because it's easy, but you can write your whole name if you want. And I just did that with acrylic paint and my smallest detail brush. I had someone in my class last night and she said that she just waits till the whole thing's dry and she does it with a Sharpie. Whatever is easiest for you, do that. Do what you find easy. And that's true for all the paintings that we do here and that you should do it, or that you do at home. Paint it to make you happy. Change it up. Do what makes you happy. That's why we paint, right? All right, so I hope you enjoyed painting with me tonight. This painting called Stellar. And I hope you'll paint with me another time. Until then, cheers.